Hi, I'm here with Josie Deighton, another Riverside Artists Group member who's showing her work in the exhibition I Dreamt, I Woke Up. And Hi, Josie. I was particularly drawn to you did a little watercolor of, it's called, I wrote it down. I dreamt I woke up on a wet beach one overcast day, number three. I love the color and I love the feel of the whole little watercolor. And also I really like the way, like the background, everything all becomes one plane until you have the figure in the foreground with the shadow, and it starts to then be thrown into something 3D. I'm very interested in that aspect. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Um, yeah, I mean, well, I can see actually now looking at the painting behind you that of course there's a relationship there in sort of the shadow figure turned away and the kind of it invites the viewer into this two-dimensional space that's evoking a three-dimensional space. Um,
Exactly, and I quite like I like it when things are not 100%. Well, they work on different levels. So you're looking at something that could be sort of abstract, could be figurative. It has all those qualities in it at the same moment. So I thought you really did that.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's a piece that's been actually the first in that series was started maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
um, uh, in response to, well, primarily in response to swimming at dawn in the open air London Fields Lido, like floating, really floating in the overcast winter dawn and looking at the very, very thick but subtle shadows overhead, and just that really feeling like a powerful, I don't know, I just had a very visceral reaction to that. And that kind of cool and that kind of like like all the colors are muted, like the dawn desaturates everything because it's not yet light enough for the different hues of color to come out.
So the tones are closer together.
The tones are closer together, and it also, that event happened in maybe 2016. So that me swimming in that Lido, I used to live in Whitechapel, and I would walk up and I'd swim there in the dawn, and it reminded me at that moment of being living in Hastings or visiting Hastings, uh, and being with the sea in those sort of very quiet moments. And then I think later I stumbled across an image that my cousin sent to me. So that person is me, the image she'd taken when I was about maybe 11, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so to bring it back, so I had been making these cloud paintings, which were very, very abstract. So there was no discernible thing that would indicate necessarily that it was a cloud. It was just literally, I was just looking at the barrier where one cloud, like very almost imperceptibly, is behind or in front of another cloud. And I was making a lot of these really grey or really kind of abstract works was shot on board. And I took one of those works and I used it as a basis for this very, very subtle figurative painting of from this photograph. So I
Yeah.
merged two at that point, and I really liked the result of that.
Yeah.
But that was it at that moment, and life continued. And then, about a month ago, I suddenly was spurned into action on this project. I was in Hastings at the time, and I created 3, 4, or 5 works on the same theme in one day,
Yeah.
almost one day, something like that. I kind of just
I think you're a very spontaneous artist.
probably, yeah.
I mean, well, so behind you, you do work a lot with the figure. Life, you do a lot of life drawing and working in that way, and they seem often quite like an honest response. So you're looking at and doing. and drawing and quite spontaneously. Well, it seems to me. I mean, maybe you feel differently.
Spontaneous is one word. I think the speed brings the spontaneity. So I work, whether it's painting, drawing, whether it's from life or from a photograph, I draw very quickly,
Yeah.
very, very quickly. Um, and I know that my best drawings are made very quickly. And it may not be that the whole drawing is made quickly, but certainly the first few marks, the first layer is almost like in one breath, like there's a kind of there's a which does happen in my work, and having started to use my phone to record how I draw, to actually see my own process.
Okay.
Even
Yeah.
more so, I was aware of it because I teach, and I have always been aware really of how I draw. I've always drawn quite quickly, but the
Well,
seeing it in real time is like, wow, that's ridiculous.
it's funny because like I'm the opposite. I mean I can obviously I've done many drawings very quickly and whatever, but my preferred thing is to spend an awfully long time on drawing.
Well, I'm not necessarily averse to that, but if I had hours with the model, I would end up doing several drawings. I think there's there's a there's a joy I have in drawing movement, which has necessitated me developing a very, very fast way of drawing, which I then use almost instinctively. So I draw quite a lot of the time, especially in the first few layers of the drawing. I draw in what I consider to be drafts. The first, depends how long the pose is, but I'll make quite a number of drafts where I almost don't look at the page. I'm using something quite light and I'm not rubbing those out, but they're the underneath layers that I'll then keep drawing the same thing on the same page at the same speed, and it will coalesce into a drawing. And I think that's been really helpful, that I'm used to drawing without looking at the page, and I'm used to drawing it very, very quickly. And I find even if I'm painting, even if I'm whatever I'm working on, that instinctive response is when I then go back and analyze my work, that produces the results that I tend to prefer. Even if I'm drawing something that I want to be very particular, like I can make very long drawings and very composed drawings, but even with those, I think the first few marks need to be from the shoulder.
I'm very excited to see the animation.
The animation is interesting. Yeah, this this is a video that a model that I've worked with, produced of themselves in water, and I've quite messed around with that. I've reversed it and I've chopped and changed it and I've taken frames out of it, because what I felt that it gave me, it inspired me, is that feeling of a breath. And this thing that I think that all of these works are speaking to is the feeling of, I dream often about swimming, about the sea, about the cold, about being in nature. There is that moment where you go and you take a breath and you wake up, and there's still a part of you that's remembering that cold and that damp and that lovely winter. Like, I love winter, so there's a kind of joy for me in that, and that's what I wanted to capture with this. And it also is linking to other projects and other ideas I have about kind of various things that are in the works.
Yeah. So, Josie, thank you so much for talking to us, and me, even just me, and looking forward to seeing everything hung and up, which will be next week. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to speak.